West Breweries Association.
Okay.
That it just came in to, because you have, prior to 1934, it was against the law to make booze or beer or whiskey or anything.
Then we should have the cannabis association.
And they have, and one day they will write them out.
We'll let you introduce it real
Because
quick.
you don't
We'll get it.
know this is about, I know you guys know this, but it's, well.
I can find it in the book. I can reference it. There's references right there in the book.
Yeah, it's.
We need that same brewery association. We need the American Cannabis Association.
No. They want. What is it? No, but in 1936.
It was Anheuser-Busch.
No, it was the Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
Oh, Harry Anslinger films and
Funded-
propaganda films.
Funded by Anheuser-Busch, correct?
Well, they were the
But who funded the HEMP4Victory film? Who funded HEMP4Victory? It was the Department of Agriculture for
No, the HEMP4Victory.
the U.S. military for the Department of Agriculture. At the beginning of the film, it says the Department of Agriculture presents. So why not in 2010 should this film, HEMP4Victory 2010, not be able to say the same thing? Grow hemp, and we're going to demand it because that's what's necessary.
Can I take a break? Excuse me, Jack. Can I take a break from this for 1 second?
Introduce yourself.
What needs to be done? We got two very distinguished people sitting next to me, and we need to just kind of what we're getting on tape here. I'm Richard Marcella, and this is episode 67, I guess, of HEMP4Victory, and it's Saturday, March the 21st, 2009, and we're at Buddy Doozy's home in Simi Valley, California. And what this will be is, this has been a meeting, Cannabis Unity Conference 2 and 1/2, and we seem to have people. That's cool. Bring them in. We'll put them on TV. But anyway, I'm Richard Marcella, and we're at Simi Valley, and we're going to do HEMP4Victory Show 67, and this is 2009, like I say. And sitting to my left, and we're going to keep this because these gentlemen who. They could, we need an hour individually. We're going to get short snippets out of them back and forth in the debate, bring in a lot of information. I'll start with George Clayton Johnson. George, honored to be here, sir.
Thank you.
I've known George Clayton Johnson, Jesus, 24, 25 years.
That's indeed true.
And he's an author, science fiction writer, fantasy writer. He wrote Ocean's 11, Logan's Run, Star Trek, 8 Twilight Zones, Can. List goes on and on. And this gentleman next to George is Jack Hara, the infamous and ever popular hemp activist, probably the most famous hemp activist in the whole world. And he wrote a book that's changing the world. He wrote a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and that book has sold over 1 million copies worldwide now. And because of it, Australia, Canada, Germany, England, and several other countries is now growing industrial hemp. And that's the premier book on the subject of hemp. And that's why you hear Willie Nelson talk about it, Woody Harrelson. Gentlemen, what an honor to have you two here this evening for this location at HEMP4Victory. George, way back when we did you want to say something, Cap?
Well, I think the Emperor Wears No Clothes.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. You know, sometimes I've done this so I get blasé. Jack Hara wrote the premier book on the subject, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, authored by Jack Hara. And that's the book I was speaking about that has sold over 1 million copies worldwide and is changing all these countries. And it's the premier book on it. It's the Bible. It's the standard. And that book was released in June of 1985. And with that was the seed, the catalyst for the birth of the modern hemp movement. Is that not true, Jack Hara?
Well, I was working on that about 6 years before with you, I think.
Well, yeah, I met Jack here
And I,
in 1980, about
yeah.
February of 1980, and I was involved in the hemp movement. And wow, little did I know that how much he would change my life and would change the life of the world, and yeah, and of the world virtually. And then George Clayton Johnson came on board. How did that all happen, George? That you got involved in?
I met Captain Ed Adair.
Yeah, there we go, right.
Captain Ed Adair had a head shop in Van Nuys called Heads and Highs. And he was a very passionate fellow who loved the 60s and wanted to keep the spirit of the 60s alive. I loved the guy almost at once, spent a tremendous amount of time in his aura.
1983, 82.
I'm not good at dates.
70,
But for 8 solid years, I was in his presence 3 times a week, 3-4 hours a day. Up until fairly recently, I was doing the same thing, mooching on Jack's time and being a parasite on his life. And I could stop being me and I could go over and live in Jack's world and not want to assert my individuality, but just be a fan, because that's what I am. I'm a fan of what he has done. I am a fan of the kind of a man he is. He is like Thomas Paine. He is like Emile Zola. He dares to tell the truth in an unpopular time. And at the time that he was ready to tell the world about marijuana, and its illustrious history, 10,000 years old historically, really long time in our history as a human race. I have a theory. Jack has been talking about a ointment called Rick Simpson oil, which has miraculous properties because it's a highly condensed form of bud marijuana. Very good medicinal preparation of pure cannabinols, cannabidiols, THC, and a ton of 6,500 or something different substances that are in that damn plant. He's distilled it down, has given it to animals and to people, and has found out that it stops cancer in a matter of hours, sometimes in a matter of days. All of this is so miraculous that now when I hear Jack talking about it and I begin to look into the subject, I want to ask this question because it strikes my mind as an intriguing possibility. What if cancer was a deficiency disease? What if the receptors we have in our brain are for the purpose of attracting these exotic things and being able to use them to regulate cell growth and to give us perfect health? But because we have not had access to cannabinols and cannabidiols, we now suffer from deficiency. We also suffer from stress and a lot of other things designed to damage cells. But what if it was simply that in our innocence / ignorance, we have forbidden people to use the one substance that regulates their body? Now, I don't know that that's true. I just made that up.
No.
But when I look back at the history of deficiency diseases, vitamin C is a good example. Vitamin D, I've lost teeth because I didn't pay enough attention to vitamin D. So now I look at all of that and I think, you know, we're talking something very, very real here. What if it's just a deficiency disease and that all of our cells would be forever healthy if we allowed them to consume these ointments that Jack talks about as kind of miracle substances?